Hello everyone and welcome back to our Taekwondo class for this week. Hopefully you have had a nice start to the week already. We are going to be kicking off this class in a minute. So make sure you've got a nice safe space, make sure you've got yourself a drink of water, get yourself ready and we're about to start our class. Heels together, arms to the side. Chariot, kungi. Okay, nice and light, jogging on the spot. Side to side. Good, front and back. Good, knees up. Heels up at the back. Sit. Heels are coming right up. Okay, good. Hands nice and high above your head. Go side to side. Good. Both hands out in front. Nice and loose. A little bit faster. Higher. Okay, both hands on your hips. Nice big circles, off we go. Good, change direction. Okay, and shot. Okay, take a seat, bring your feet in towards, we're going to grab our toes, chest is coming down 3 times, hold and repeat. So remember when we do this stretch, make sure feet come in, make sure you take both hands and we grab our toes. Everybody should know how to do this exercise. Remember, it is your chest that's coming down towards your feet, not your forehead. We don't want to do this. You'll put a lot of strain on the back of your neck and over time it will start to get sore. So keep your chin up and try and bring your chest as far down towards your legs as you can. Ready? Off you go. So try and make sure we're making the effort to go deeper and deeper with every stretch. Last one. Okay, very good. Take your hands, grab your ankles, elbows on our knees, pushing our knees down towards the floor. See, jump. Okay, both legs out in front, go out nice and wide into your side stretch. Whenever we do this exercise, guys, make sure you are going to your maximum. There is no point sitting comfortably. Whenever we stretch, you are supposed to put yourself in a bit of an uncomfortable position. It should be painful, but it should be uncomfortable. That's how you know that you're going to get the most out of your stretch. So make sure you're pushing your legs as wide as they can go. If you haven't done this before for a very long time, take one hand, put it underneath, lift it up so that you can get your feet slightly further wide, and that way we can make sure that we're always training at our maximum. We're going to go down to the left, to the right, and into the middle. See, jump. Excellent. Okay, if you bring your feet in, shake them off, bring your legs in, cross those legs, hands in front. We're going to go through our meditation now. So I know we've been doing this at home, which is fantastic to see. Obviously, we do this at the beginning, at the end of every class. We're also now going to do this at the end of every class as part of our cool down, as well as our warm up. So get yourself comfortable. We're going to go for 1 minute. Your time starts in 3, 2, 1. Off you go. And relax. Very well done. Now, stand up. Straight back into our attention stance. Well done. Now, that is the first part of our class done. So that is your warm-up and your meditation. Grab yourself a drink, get yourself ready. We're going to go into our core kicks. Okay, now this first technique that we're going to be working on is what's called a back kick. Now we're going to work on this back kick twice today, so I'm going to show you, and in fact we're going to work on it 3 different times today. I'm going to show you a half back kick, which is going to be very similar to a side kick that we've already covered. We're then going to do a full back kick with the rotation involved, which can be a little bit harder, but we will give it a go today. And then for our final kick, we're going to move on to doing a combination of front snap kick straight into a back kick, and we'll see how that looks in a moment. So a back kick, like I said, we will start with a half back kick. So the first thing we have to do is go back into our walking stance with our arms out to our side. Now, a half back kick doesn't require a rotation. That will be the full back kick that we do in a minute. A half back kick simply requires your back leg to lift up and then kick out behind you, hence the back kick. So what's going to happen is we're going to lift this back leg up, and in order to do so, we have to turn our shoulders here so that we can look behind us. That's going to be step number 1, is looking. Most important thing when you're doing a combat sport is being able to keep your eye on your target, because your target is going to be moving and going to be trying to make it very difficult for you to attack and hit them. If you take your eyes off, not only can you not see what's going to come next, but you actually give your opponent an advantage because you've lost focus or concentration for a moment, and they can take advantage of that. So looking is always going to be number 1 priority. So we're going to turn and we're going to look over our shoulder. Once we've looked and we can see what we're going to attack, you're going to lift your leg up. Now how we do that is you pull the knee in towards your chest. So watch me, I'm going to lift and pull here. Now if you look, you're almost, or you are in a side kick position. So all that's going to happen now is we're going to extend our leg to the back, come back in, cross and put it down. So from this position, we're going to turn and look, pull the knee in, kick out, come back and down. Now we're going to do 10 repetitions, 10 on each leg. I'll do them sideways for you so that you can see exactly what the techniques look like. We're going to do 10 one side, swap on the leg, and do 10 on the other side. So take your right leg back, cross your arms and bring them out to the side. I'm going to do 10 repetitions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Very good. come in and swap your legs. So take your left leg back this time. We're going to work on the other leg. Remember, turn and look, lift, kick, and then come back down. Ready? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And roll. And shut. We're now going to move on to our full back kick. Now, as you saw with the half back kick, it's very similar to our side kick. It simply requires you to chamber your leg and kick out, fully extending your knee. Now, a side kick does it sideways, a back kick simply does it by kicking backwards. The full back kick does require a rotation, and instead of kicking behind you, we're now going to be kicking in front of us. Now, the technique does get a little bit more difficult, but I'm going to break it down into 3 or 4 steps for you to follow along. Now, if it is a brand new technique, I suggest when you're performing these kicks that you go step by step like I'm about to show you. Even if you are not new to the full back kick and you've practiced it before, but you're still not fully confident, go nice and slowly, guys. There is no need for you to try and go 100 miles per hour straight away like that. Break it down, go maybe 10 miles per hour, then 20, 30, 40, and then eventually you can go at full speed. But while you're still learning and practicing, you're going to do yourself a disservice if you're just trying to go 100 miles per hour straight away. You will lose technique, you will develop poor technique, and you're not developing the strength and the core muscles you need to be able to fully rotate and keep your body in that position to fully extend your legs. So take your time with this technique, don't rush it. There is no need, you've got all the time in the world to practice, so take it nice and slowly. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our right leg and we're going to bring it back behind us. Now the back leg that we just took back behind us is the one that's going to do the kick. How we're going to do this kick, I'm going to break it down into 3 easy steps for you. Step number 1, we have to rotate the heel of our front foot. So this foot was in front of me, this is the heel, so I have to lift it up. And I'm turning on the ball of my foot. So I lift up my heel, I turn and I point my heel towards my target, which for me is going to be this wall. Once I've pointed my heel, I then have to look at my target again, but I have to turn my shoulders in order to do it. So I have to turn my shoulders, and now I have to look back at my target. Notice I was here and I had to do a full turn to look again. The look is vital. Making sure that you are looking at your opponent before you execute a technique is incredibly important, guys. So please make sure that you're not looking this way and then just lifting up to do your kick this way, because you won't have any idea what you're kicking. You don't even know if the opponent still stood in front of you there. They could have moved to the side and you'd have no idea. So once you've turned the heel, very important that you turn your shoulders and your head to look at your target. Once you're looking at your target, this back leg is going to lift up and come up into our chamber position like we just did for the back kick, and then you simply extend out and turn to come back. So I'll show you one more time and then we're going to go straight into our technique. So from here, pivot and turn your heel, point it to your target, turn your shoulders and your head so that you can see your target, and then you lift up the back leg to come out and do your kick. At full speed, it will look something like this, where you're going to keep turning and come out to execute your kick without stopping or going 1, 2, 3. Like I said, if it is a brand new technique, if you don't have a lot of practice with it, please go 1, 2, 3. Take your time, go nice and slowly so that you can develop the correct technique rather than going very fast but having poor technique. Now, take your right leg back, cross your arms and bring them out to the side. We're going to do 10 on each leg. I will go a little bit slower than full speed so that you can still see what the technique looks like in motion if you are obviously watching and copying along. So right leg back, cross your arms, bring them out to the side. Remember, turn your heel, turn your shoulders and your head, and then extend your leg just like we did with the half back kick. 1, 2, 9. Last one, 10. Okay. This time, take left leg back, cross your arms and bring them out to the side. Same thing, but we're going to be kicking this way, turning on our right foot, kicking with our left leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And roll. And shut. Now the final kick that we're going to do today is going to be a combination using the half back kick that we did a minute ago. And we're going to use a combination called a front snap kick into back kick. Now some of you may have done this combination before. For the majority of you it's going to be brand new. And it's a simple combination to take part in and to develop, but it does require a little bit of core strength and flexibility and coordination, and not flexibility, sorry, stability and coordination to make sure that you can hold your body while you're turning. Now, technique is used to attack two opponents, one that is stood in front of you and one that is stood behind you. And all that we do is we use our front snap kick, which should be the first kick that you ever learned. So everybody should know this technique where you lift up and kick nice and fast in front. This is the tough part. Hold your knee in this position, and then we need to start to turn our body so that we can end up in this position here. Now, if you remember, this is the chamber position for our back kick, where you were here and you came up to chamber before you kicked out here. Now we're going to do that kick, but the only difference is rather than starting here, you've already done one kick and now you're starting here. So from here, you have to keep this knee nice and high, keep your arms to your balance if you need it, turn your body into your chamber, look, and then you can kick and then come back down. So we're going to do front snap kick into back kick by kicking 1, holding, turn, 2, and then you can put the foot down. So front snap kick into back kick, we're going to do 10 on each leg. We're going to start by taking our right leg back and crossing our arms to the side. 1. Now, very important guys, once you've done your first front snap kick, make sure you're looking before you're executing your back kick. Don't just kick here, keep looking this way, and then turn to kick that way, because you're not going to see what you're kicking. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Very good. Swap your feet. So left leg back this time, cross your arms, bring them out to the side. Same thing, but we're going to be kicking with our left leg instead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, last one, 10. And roll, and shut, in completing our core kicks, guys. They were 3 kicks, all based around a back kick, which is one of my favorite techniques. When done properly, it's probably the most powerful technique that we use in Taekwondo, especially the full back kick with the rotation can generate an awful lot of power. So very well done. Grab yourself a quick drink and get yourself ready. We're going to go straight into our technique part of our class. Now, the first technique that we're going to learn today is a footwork technique, and it's called a spot turn. So it's not a flashy technique, it's not necessarily exciting, but it is one of the techniques that a lot of students, when they're first learning it, get it quite wrong, and that's absolutely fine. It's not the easiest thing to get your head around, but the idea today is that I'm going to try and break it down for you into some nice simple steps so that you know exactly how a spot turn works. Now, a spot turn is a technique taken from pattern Do San. It's quite an early pattern and belt, but it is a technique that once you learn it, you then use it in a lot of the senior patterns as you develop and get a little bit more advanced. So we're going to learn it today so that you know it, and that when you come to either perform it in your pattern for the first time, or that if you've already performed it and you have to perform it again in one of the more senior patterns, you know exactly what you're doing and your technique is nice and sharp. So we're going to take our right leg back and we're going to bring our arms out to the side. Now, a spot turn simply means that you're going to turn your body around, and we're going to go from facing this way to facing that way, but we're going to turn on the spot. Previously, when you've turned, you've come 1 foot in and we've turned around this way, or you would have done a rotation where you've then come to face this way, but we're going to do a turn on the spot. And how that works is we're going to break it down into 3 simple steps. Step number 1 is your front foot. Now, if you're in a correct walking stance, you should have a nice distance between your front heel, which is here, and your back toes. Now, the most important thing is that we need to come halfway in between. Now, if I went full, what I mean by taking a full step back is this. Look at my leg, it comes all the way back to my other leg. We don't want to do that, that's a full step. We're going to take a half step. So a half step simply means we come halfway. So you come halfway and you stop. So watch, I went from here, halfway, and I stop. Now, if you look, my heel is no longer touching the floor, but the ball of my foot is. Now, from here, I simply have to turn my body to face the other way. Now, you'll notice once you've turned that this foot is in your way. So we're going to have to lift this foot up and out into another full walking stance. So the idea of this technique is that you're going from a walking stance facing one way, you're turning on the spot, into another walking stance facing the other way. So I'll show you one more time and then we're going to go straight into this pattern. So right leg back, left leg forward, arms out to the side, halfway, turn, then lift up and out. So you should start in a walking stance, halfway, turn, lift up and out. Finish in a walking stance. Most important things here, guys, remember, halfway, not full. If you come full, you won't be able to turn on the spot. Turn on the ball of your foot, not on your heel. So you come halfway with the ball, turn on the ball, and then lift up the whole leg and come out into a walking stance. We're going to do 10 repetitions. Because of the nature of this technique, you're simply going to start here, and we'll do 1. And then when you get to here, 2 will simply be going back the other way. Okay, so we're going to do 10 so that you're doing 5 on each side. Go nice and slowly, guys. This is, like I said, a technique that a lot of us get wrong when we are just starting out. So take your time to make sure that your foot is going into the middle, not all the way. Make sure you're turning the right way and make sure you're lifting up and out. The most important thing is that you finish in a walking stance again where you started. We don't want our feet close together. They need to be in a nice, correct walking stance. So left foot forward, right leg back. Cross your arms and out to the side. We're going to do our spot turn. 1, halfway, turn, lift up and out. 2, halfway, turn, lift up and out. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, and roll, and shut. Now, if you didn't quite understand that one, go back, rewatch it, take the time. Like I said at the beginning, the key here is to come halfway, turn your body, lift up and come out. You do the exact same thing regardless of which way you're facing. As long as you follow those rules, we will get our spot turn correct every single time. Well done. Okay, now this technique is going to be a fingertip thrust, and this is a technique that you learn relatively early on. It is a technique that's used pretty much throughout all of the patterns in some variation, and it is attacking with the fingertips. Now, as you can see, your fingertips are not the hardest or the strongest part of your body. They are quite weak, they are quite bendy, and if you turn or bend them the wrong way, they're going to hurt. So we need to understand first and foremost that whenever you're attacking with fingertips, you're not going to be attacking something hard. So for example, I wouldn't attack somebody's chest with my fingertips because their chest is going to be a lot more solid or a lot harder than my fingertips. Chances are I'm going to hurt my fingers more than I hurt their chest. So whenever you're using things like fingertips, things that are fragile and things that can break quite easily, we don't attack hard parts of the body. Instead, we attack soft parts of the body. And what I mean by soft parts of the body are things like the neck, the throat, the solar plexus, where if you remember from your front snap kick, there's a little air pocket that goes in. You can, believe it or not, achieve the same effect with a fingertip thrust as long as you are very accurate and you hit the solar plexus. I wouldn't recommend it. Rely on the front snap kick rather than using your hands to do it to get that effect. But this technique is used primarily to attack the throat here. It can be used to go into the shoulder blade here, which can be quite painful if you're going straight into the shoulder. And it can be used to go into the solar plexus. But again, soft tissue. We're not attacking anything like the forehead or the face or the chest, something that's going to be hard and it's going to hurt our fingers more than our opponent. Now, the technique is designed for you to thrust your fingertip forward in a nice straight spear-like motion. So if you think of a spear or an arrow, it goes forward in a very sharp straight line at speed, and that's the same idea behind this technique. So when you're starting from here, you're simply going to open your hands up nice and wide. When we open our hands up nice and wide, and I'll show you this way, this one hand, my left hand, is coming down to perform a block. So for example, if someone was throwing a punch here, my left hand is knocking that punch down by blocking down. Once I block down, my fingertip comes over the top to pierce. So remember, here, here, or here, that's where you're piercing forward in this motion here. So first hand comes down to block, second hand pierces straight over the top. Now, very important that we understand, if I show you sideways, you need to see the positioning of my hand. We're not doing this. I'm not chopping down like a chop, like you're doing a karate chop here. You're going forward in a line. So we need to understand that when you're coming, it's not like this where you're chopping down, but you're shifting and you're moving forward like a spear. Very similar to how you do a straight punch, but it's just with a spear or a fingertip thrusting this way. So we're going to do this technique 10 times one way, 10 times the other way, and we're using both hands so that you can get it correct. Okay, so what's going to happen is we're going to come back into our fighting stance for this one, and from here we're going to open our hands up nice and wide so that you're in this position, so that the one hand can come down to block and the other hand can come over the top and pierce as you take a step forward. So from this position here, we're going to go, and I'll take a little bit step back, you're going to go 1, 2, 3. I'll show you one more. So from here, we're going to go 1, 2, 3. Okay, ready? Fingertip thrust, stepping forward. 1. Come back, get back. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7, 8, 9, last one, 10. Now you're going to take other leg back, so left leg back. Same motion now, guys, but the right hand does the block, and you're stepping forward to pierce with the left hand instead. So back into our fighting stance, Debbie-Mackie position. Get yourself ready. Fingertip thrust, stepping forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, last one, and drop, and shut. Now our next technique is going to be something called a twin upset. This is a technique taken from pattern Chungun, which is the pattern you perform to get your blue belt red stripe. So it is one of the more senior pattern and one of the more senior techniques. Now a twin upset is a double punch that aims for the rib cages here. So you're coming in with 2 punches to come in here. If you remember, a few weeks ago we did what was called a twin four fist, where you came forward with 2 punches in this direction, where you're aiming for the cheekbone. Something very similar, but instead of coming forward this way, you actually come round and in, because you're aiming for the body rather than aiming for the head. But the technique is very similar. So twin upset, like I said, is used to attack the body with 2 fists. You're aiming for the rib cages here, especially the floating ribs, which are the lower ones that sit slightly lower down than these higher ones. So we're aiming for these lower rib cages here. Now, how the technique is going to work is we're going to start by taking our right leg back and bringing our arms to the side. We are going to step forward into a walking stance while we do our twin upset. Your hands are going to do a small circular motion, and from here, as I start to step forward, they come up, then they start to come around to my side for me to step forward and push forward and up in this direction here. So if I show you at slightly faster speed, you're coming around and pushing and punching with both hands. Think of it as an uppercut almost, hence why the name upset, because you're coming around and in this way here. Key here is if you look at my hands, when they finish, they're not all the way out here. My elbows are tucked in at the side of my body because my hands need to be attacking the lower ribs, which means they should be level with my own lower ribs. If my hands are up here, they're more in line with my face, so I'm not going to be attacking the right part of the body. So we're going to take our right leg back, cross your arms and bring them out to the side. I'll show you one last time and then we're going to go straight through. So as you're stepping forward, do a small circular motion and then you're pressing upwards into a twin upset motion. Make sure that your hands don't go too far forward and that they're staying slightly tucked in and close to your side. So right leg back, cross your arms and bring them back. Twin upset, we're going to do 10 moving this way on our right leg, and then we're going to swap and do 10 moving forward the other way on our left leg. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and come in and swap your feet. So left leg is stepping forward now, arms to the side. 1, 2, 10. I'll do one more because I missed one. And roll. And shut. Really well done for taking part and completing those techniques. Hopefully there's something brand new there for most of us. As always, guys, practice the techniques that you are learning, especially if it's something that's brand new. Take a little bit of extra time between now and next week's techniques to practice the ones that you have been learning for this week's class, okay? As always, grab yourself a drink, get yourself ready. We're going to go into our combination part before we finish. Now, our combination for this week is going to be a little bit easier than some of the combinations that we've done previously. It's only going to require two techniques that everybody up until now should know, because even if you didn't know how to do a jab or a side kick, you would have learned it by following along with these classes. So nobody should be lost. If you are, and if you are watching this class without having taken part in the previous classes, I suggest you go back and watch some of those, because they will give you a nice selection of techniques that we're going to be using in some of these combinations. Now, combination that we're going to do today, like I said, is very simple. It's simply going to be a jab to side kick, and it's going to look a little bit like this. So you're going to be in your fighting stance. We're going to be nice and light on the bounce. Our hand that's furthest forward, remember that's our jab. We should all know that by now. So from here, you're going to jab, and then immediately you're going to use your front leg side kick to follow up. Okay, now it is a very basic and it's a very simple technique. It's only two movements, it's jab, side kick. But the reason it can be effective is we need to perform this very quickly. And the reason it needs to be performed quickly is because the jab is not really something that we're worried about. It doesn't matter if it hits the target, it doesn't matter if it lands nice and clean, it doesn't matter if it just lands or if it completely misses. What we're doing with the jab is we're just giving our opponent something to think about that's coming towards their face. And so if they're not thinking about the thing that's coming towards their face, chances are your jab's going to punch them in the face, which is great, we get a point. If they are quick enough and they're reacting to the hand, that's when the leg needs to come up nice and quick, so that the distraction is the hand coming towards their face, not seeing the leg that's following up, and then you get your kick in instead. So even though it's a very basic combination, if done correctly and if timed correctly, and again with all combinations, timing is probably the most important thing here, and to understand when to use your techniques. If it's timed correctly and it's nice and fast, it can be very effective. So we're going to be practicing today. Again, the key here is to perform the technique at speed. However, because it's a brand new technique, I'm not expecting anybody to be able to go full speed straight away. Obviously, practice the technique, get comfortable with the technique, and then practice going at full speed. We are not going to go full speed today. I'm going to demonstrate the technique for you so you can see what it looks like, and then in your own time between now and next week, you've got 7 days to perfect that technique, make it nice and sharp, nice and fast, so that one hand's firing and then the leg is firing out straight afterwards. So we're going to go into our combination now. You're going to need to bring your kicking leg in front. I like to have my right leg in front. In a minute, we're going to swap and do both legs, so it doesn't make any difference, guys. So bring your kicking leg in front. We're going to have our guard up. And as always, remember our habits. Guard is up, don't drop your hands. And 2, stay nice and light on our feet. We don't need to be jumping up and down frantically, but as long as you're nice and light and you're not stiff like this and really rigid, you're going to find it difficult to perform techniques and move nice and quickly and be relaxed. So technique from this position is simply going to be a jab, and then watch as my jab is coming back, my leg is going forward. So it's almost happening simultaneously, which means at the same time. It's going 1. The second I'm thinking about pulling my hand back, I've already thought about pushing my leg forward. So we've got to be nice and quick with this one. Top speed, we want to be performing something like this, where you're just going and it's nice and fast, and the hand is a distraction to take away from the leg that's going to follow up straight after the hand. Excellent. So kicking leg in front, guard up, nice and light on the bounce. We're going to do 10 on this leg and swap and do 10 on the other. Ready? 1, 2, 7, 8, 9, 10. Very good. We're going to swap, do the same thing on the other leg. So this time you'll have your left leg forward, because it's going to be our front leg to do the side kick. Guard up, nice and light on the abs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, last one, 10. And roll, and shut. So really good work on that technique and that combination, guys. Take your time with this one. It is all about finding the timing and the distance to be able to perfect this technique. What I would suggest is, if you are practicing at home and you have a little bit more space, try moving around with this technique. And what I mean is, rather than just standing still like this, maybe you're just slightly moving around, and then when you're ready, you can go 1, 2. It will be a little bit more realistic to what a real life situation will be like, and it will start to develop your footwork, because you're not just standing still on the spot, you're starting to move around in circles, change directions, cut angles, and practice your combinations. Excellent work, guys. Very well done. Grab yourself a drink, and we're going to go straight into our cool down. Okay, very well done. Now, if you have been taking part in all parts of the class and you've been giving it 100%, you should feel a little bit sweaty like myself. If you've been working hard, your muscle groups will be lighting up, which is excellent. Very well done in taking part. We are now, like I said at the beginning, we're just what we do is a cool down. We did a warm up at the beginning of the class to get your heart rate up. But now that we've been taking part and we've been active for a good half an hour to 40 minutes, it's very important that we cool down, we bring our heart rate down, and we will finish with our meditation. So if everybody takes a seat on the floor, you're going to go out nice and wide into your side stretch. But we're going to do this as what's called a static stretch rather than a dynamic stretch. And the difference for that is simply, rather than going 1, 2, 3 and hold, which we do at the beginning of the class, where your muscles haven't warmed up very much and they're still quite tight, hence why we go 1, 2, 3, because you're stretching them. Now that you've been active for a good amount of time, your muscles will all be nice and relaxed and nice and warm. We do what's called a static stretch. And a static stretch simply means you're going to go as far as you can possibly go, and we're going to try and hold that position for a good 10 seconds. Then we're going to move over to the other leg, go as far as you can go and hold it for 10 seconds. And then we're going to come into the middle as far as you can go, and we're going to hold that position for 10 seconds. We're only going to do a side stretch, so get yourself ready. We're going to go down to your left in 3, 2, 1, off you go. So we're going to go down, go as far as you can go, and we're going to count down from 10. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Very good. Move over to the other leg. Again, stretch as far as you can possibly stretch and hold that position. We're going to count down 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last one. Both hands into the middle. Again, when you're doing this one, you've got to imagine that somebody's grabbed your hands and they're pulling you forward. That's the idea I want you to have in your head, as if you're trying to touch something that's in front of you and you're really reaching as far as you can go. Try and make sure you're reaching as far as you can go. We're going to go for 10 seconds again, so get yourself ready. Off you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Excellent. Bring your feet in, shake them off, cross your legs, hands in front. Now, just to finish off our class, we're going to do our 60 seconds of meditation, just like we did at the beginning, to make sure that that focus and concentration we had when we started our class, we can leave. And now that if you need to go off and do any other work, or if you want to go and have some fun or help mum and dad around the house, you can do that, but you'll be nice with a clear mind and nice and focused. So get yourself ready. Make sure your back is nice and straight so that we can improve our posture at the same time. 60 seconds starts in 3, 2, 1, off you go. And relax. Very well done. Stand up on your feet. Back into our attention stance.